Can you tell us who you are and when and where you were born?
Okay, my name's George Henderson, and I was born in Halton County here. Actually, I was born in Guelph, but at that time when I was born, Guelph was the hospital, so yeah. But I've lived in Halton County all my life. I was raised closer to Georgetown on a farm, on a dairy farm, and of course when we were married 40 years ago now, almost, we moved to Acton, of course. So I've lived in Acton here another couple of months, it'll be 40 years, so. But yeah, so we've had, we haven't had too far to travel for either for work or for play or socializing. So.
Okay. What county were you a junior farmer member of, and what years?
Okay, well, it was always in Halton County, so and we belonged to the Acton Club. And what years? Well, I would say I was the late 60s. 69, 70, 71 to maybe the 77, 78, 79, somewhere in there. And so, really only for about a period of 10 years, I was fairly active. And, so I still like to try and keep track of people from that time, but you'd be surprised, you lose track of people pretty easily. Yeah.
How did you first get involved in junior farmers?
Well, my neighbor was in junior farmers, and so he invited me, and so yeah, and so of course, and we were both living closer to Georgetown, but we came to Acton to the Acton Junior Farmer Club, and actually the meetings for the Acton Junior Farmer Club were held in Brookville, and so that was say in the late 60s and in the early 70s, and that went on for quite a few years until. Eventually, I think they moved the meetings to, we had them in Ballinafad then for a while, but for the most part they were in Brookville, but we're still the Acton Junior Farmers.
What sort of things did the Acton Junior Farmers do?
Well, I thought we were pretty active. We were active, and well, as I was looking through some memorabilia books, I came across the drama festivals that we did. We were involved in, of course, lots of the sports things. We went to field days, and whether we went to broom ball tournaments. In the early 70s, broom ball was a big deal. So there's lots of broom ball tournaments, and there used to be in the 60s. I remember people talking about all the hockey tournaments that used to take place, but not by the early 70s. They'd kind of been gone past. There wasn't enough actual hockey playing members to host a hockey tournament, so but everybody kind of gravitated towards broom ball because you could have mixed broom ball teams. So
yeah, curling.
Yeah. Oh, and then curling was a sport. And, actually, I went to a couple of curling bonspiels, but I only went as the designated driver. I didn't curl. So, but yeah. So there's a lot of those activities. The activities of like there was. Whether it was the talent festivals, those type of things. I didn't compete in them. I just went and watched and enjoyed them.
What sort of community-involved projects did Acton Junior Farmers partake in?
Oh boy, community-involved ones. We did well. It was kind of with the county junior farmers. We did the Century Farms. Yeah, so we actively searched out the Century Farms in the county, and were able to present the end of the laneway plaques, that the signs that they hung at the end of the driveways. Now community projects. That's a good question. What else? I can't think of any right at the moment, but yes.
Okay. Just
Have
had
you
the
got?
booth at the fair.
Well, yeah, I guess you're right. That was a fundraising one, yeah, because we raised funds. We had a food booth that we would, the Acton Junior Farmers would do a food booth at the Acton Fair, and then, of course, then as the county junior farmers, we would go to the county fair, which was Milton, and we would set up the food booth there. But that was to raise funds for the county junior farmers. So, yeah, so that was a big, it was a lot of work, but everybody enjoyed themselves. We did the plowing match when Halton County hosted the plowing match, and that would be the early 70s too, maybe 74. And we had a food booth at the plowing match for, well, of course it was for a week, and so that was a lot of work for a lot of people. But it was again, it was the kind of the fun things that you got to do a lot of work for.
Okay. And how many other clubs were there in Halton?
Okay, in Halton during our time was 3 clubs. There was the Acton Club, the Norville Club, and the Palermo Junior Farmers. And so, and I think Palermo was kind of the first one to drop out of the county association in it would be the early 70s, 72, sometime in there, and then in the middle 70s, I think Norville kind of dropped out, and then by the late 70s, I remember it just became a county organization that, without having specific, Norville or Acton or Palermo. So yeah, so it'd be the late 70s when it became just a county association. So.
How many members were there in the county?
Oh, there would be a couple hundred at least. There would be in the county. Actually, even in Acton, there was like 70 plus members. Quite often. So, yeah, no, Acton had in that early 70s era, late 60s and 70s, there was a fairly strong Acton club. But unfortunately, over time, it just kind of dwindled away.
What were the contributing factors that decreased membership in Halton in the 70s?
Yeah, and that's kind of a problem that they found other things to do, I suppose. It didn't take too long, and all of a sudden, well, if the 2 or 3 friends aren't coming, well, then somebody else doesn't come, and it just kind of seemed to dwindle away like that. I don't know whether there was anything specific. There wasn't really anything specific that led to it's just 1 or 2 here 1 year, and then all of a sudden it's 5 or 10 the next year, and then all of a sudden it's 10 or 20 that don't come back, and in a couple of years that's it.
And couples got married and started families, and
Yeah, well, that's true too. Yeah,
different,
Yeah.
How long were you involved in Junior Farmers before you became provincially involved as a provincial director?
Well, not very long, really. I was only like 5 or 6 years. So I was provincial director in 74 and 75. For 2 years I was provincial director up to 76, I think it was. And so, if I didn't start until 68 or 69, well, so there was only like 6 or 7 years before I was provincial director, and I was county president, I think, for 2 years before I was provincial director. So it didn't take long. All of a sudden, if you said you were going to do something, and you said you would do something like that, and I said, go for it. That you were on the hook then.
Who were the provincial presidents when you were on the provincial board?
There was Don Mode first, and then I think it was Glenn Rood. I think Glenn was from Wellington County, if I remember rightly, and I thought Don was from. I thought he was up. I thought he was north. No, maybe it was Prescott. It was Don Blues was another president from Thunder Bay. That's who I was thinking of that. But yes, yeah, that's what it was.
What kind of president was Don Mode?
Well, I remember he was very like he could speak very well. Yeah, and so I thought he, and he could put forth his ideas that he wanted to, or thought the junior farmers should be pursuing, and so I remember him talking about that kind of, just his persona was, I liked the way he projected himself all the time. So.
What kind of president was Glenn Roog?
And I think Glenn was more, I was going to say down to earth type of guy, and whereas and Don was, I think he was more businesslike. Don was more businesslike, and Glenn was more, as I say, I'm thinking more down to earth. He would kind of rather sit in a meeting with a few people as opposed to having a big board meeting, and so yeah.
Okay. And who was secretary treasurer when you were on the board?
Well, Carm Hamilton was the secretary treasurer of the association in those years, and then after I can't remember whether Ken Knox was just after that, but anyways, yeah. So Ken was, I can't remember whether he was, no, Don was still Secretary Treasurer when I finished, or I mean Carm was, but then Ken, I think, was maybe, he was only a year or two after that, I'm not sure, but somewhere in that same time frame. Yeah, yeah.
How did Carm contribute to the provincial junior farmers?
Well, he would, you know, of course, a lot of the people that were directors were, you know, we were all in our early 20s. You know, we weren't, you know, as a lot of people would think was really experienced with conducting business affairs of a large, you know, in the 70s. That, you know, like I'm thinking there would be, I can't remember how many thousand members there were then, but you know, that's a lot of members to look after and keep track of their activities and things. But you know, Carm was pretty easygoing. He would, you know, suggest you be doing this, or maybe you should be taking this path and trying things like that. So he, you know, he wasn't, you know, a hard, you know, one way or the other, do it this way or don't do it at all type of thing. He, no, he was very good at that, to kind of persuade you how to do something.
Other than provincial director, how else were you involved provincially?
I was on the Conservation Council Ontario Board as the junior farmer representative for a couple of years. Yeah, and so yeah, that was about the only extra board that I was, I guess you could say, elected to. So, yeah, so I attended Conservation Council meetings, and they were always in Toronto at I think at one of the ministry buildings someplace, I can't remember now, but it was downtown someplace. But yeah, and there was a lot of reports. You would read reports and have to make comment on, you know, there would be, you know, whether environmental assessments for this or that, and the Conservation Council always wanted to make a comment on something, and it was, a lot of it was very political. I thought, you know, they were trying to, you know, they were still, you know, they weren't a volunteer group as much as the junior farmers were, but you know, they had an executive director and the whole works like that. But yeah, so there was a lot of, you would read, you know, reports and reports, and it was very, it wasn't something that I liked going to.
Did you go on any provincially organized trips?
Yeah, I only applied, well, maybe I applied for more than one, but I was accepted on the United Nations trip in '71, I believe it was, and then I went to the, let's see, I went to the Hoosier Recreation Workshop in Indiana. I can't remember if that was the year before or the year after I went on the UN trip, but it was, yeah, right around the same time anyways, yeah. And so yeah, so they were, you know, obviously when you get to go on a trip, that's always a highlight of seeing something other than, you know, of course when you're from Halton County, then all of a sudden you get to go to New York, or you get to go to Indiana. That was a big deal. That was good.
Can you expand on what the United Nations trip was?
Well, it was really just, you know, a bit of a learning experience when you went to, you know, of course you got to go to the United Nations building, of course you got to tour Washington and New York, and so, but it was, you know, it was only really just a short tour, you know, a few days, but it was still, you know, it was a good time. Like there would be, what, 40 of us on the bus, and yeah, and it was for that time, it was, you know, for that few days, you got to meet and learn and socialize with a lot of other junior farmer members. So it was good.
How did it get decided who got to go?
Well, I think you just applied, you know, and then there was sometimes there was an interview, but I believe that pretty well each county got to send somebody, and so sometimes there, you know, it didn't, you know, obviously if there was more than one person from the county applying, you know, the county would hold an interview process, but for the most part, I can remember Halton County, if you had one or two people applying for each of these trips, well then, you know, I think you considered yourself lucky, and you're almost automatic to be able to go. And so
Now going back to the Hoosier Recreational Workshop,
yeah,
what was that?
yeah. Well, that was just a recreation workshop where you know, learned a little bit about leading games and leading activities and events and of course there was 4 of us that went, and so there's it was just, let's say, learning games and being able to take charge of a room full of people and be able to lead them in something. And so for the most part it was games and fun and games. That's what it was.
Where did that take part?
It was at Purdue University, and so so for us, actually I got to go. There was myself and 3 other girls from where are they from? But anyways, there's 4 of us, and so I got to drive down to Purdue. It was good. Yeah.
What were some of the most significant or interesting things that happened in Junior Farmers during your time on provincial board?
Oh, some significant ones. Well, obviously being provincial director and being county president, being club president, all those things are things that you look back 40 years ago and think, all right, that was significant. And so well, let's say the drama festivals. The one year our club we went to the provincial drama finals, and so we won our zone and won our we won our county, then won our zone, and then went to provincial. But we didn't win the provincial one, but that was still a fun time. And so and of course other things I remember is say going to field days and conferences, and those conferences they kind of taught us to be able to be more than just an ordinary member, to be able to take a step forward.
What challenges did Junior Farmers face during your time on the provincial board?
Well, some challenges. Well, they could have been. Let's see, some challenges. Well, obviously there's always financial challenges. I can't see us even back 40 years ago not having those challenges. But and whether it was running a dance, how much are we going to charge for a dance ticket? It's going to be $1, it's going to be $2, and things like that. But on the provincial board, the same thing. I remember we used to go to when we had our March conference, we would go to the King Edward Hotel downtown, and then the other, of course, the challenge then was to find another spot to go to, and we ended up going to the Prince Hotel. And obviously there must have been financial reasons for choosing that over the we'll say another big hotel downtown. But when you had I don't know how many would have 500 delegates or 1,000 delegates going to provincial conference. There was a lot of junior farmers at these provincial conferences. So yeah.
How do you feel that you contributed to Junior Farmers?
Well, as I said, being stepping up to the plate, I guess, and saying that okay, I'll be club president, and then I'll be provincial director, and so those type, somebody who had to do it, and so when I actually another one I went to provincial it was a provincial debating workshop at Albion Hills. I think that would have been even in, I would say, 1970 maybe. And so I went there, and that kind of got me going, not so much to be afraid of standing up in front of people and being able to start some of this. And so that's kind of where it started, a lot of it. Sometimes I thought that I was more of a shy person before I started coming to Junior Farmers, and that kind of gave me the confidence to do some other things. So kind of progressed from there.
You've already mentioned this a bit, but can you expand on it more? The provincial events that occurred during your time, all the provincial events.
Oh yeah. Well, let's say what ones we had. Let's say the field days were big. Everybody was always pointing towards that. There was the drama festivals, there was the March conference, you know, all the and at county meetings, you know, who's going to apply for some of these trips? You know, who wants to apply? Do you want to apply? You should be applying. You know, you say that to people. So those type of things. And of course, you know, when you get to you start going to provincial director meetings, and that's, you know, an extra something that you got to go to. Now I don't know. They were always, you know, there was always seemed to be something that you could go to, whether it was a, you know, a broomball tournament, or whether you want to go to, you know, there were soccer tournaments. We went to Elgin County once for a soccer tournament, and yeah, and so there was lots of lots like that. So,
How much did membership cost?
well, that's a good question. I know there was something, but I can't remember whether it was like a $2 fee or whether it was.
Didn't we put something in a pot each meeting
Did we pay a?
for the local? I don't
Did we
remember
pay a?
what we did
Yeah, I
for
can't
the
remember.
county.
Yeah. You know, those type of things you tend to forget, and you think, oh, okay, how do we have to pay this every month or every year? But then after a while, you forget about it and you don't remember. Yeah.
How many members were there in the province when you were on the provincial board?
Well, I'm thinking that there was several thousand. You know, like, would 5,000 be a number that I'm? There was a lot, or am I thinking? You know, I'm thinking of there was a lot of members. You know, if we had, you know, Halton County is the smallest county in Ontario, and if we had 200 plus members, I'm sure some of the bigger counties they would have, you know, they'd have 1,000 members in their county. But you know, lots of counties had 5 clubs. You know, had 5 clubs in a county. So yeah, there would be in the thousands. But yeah. No, I can't really remember whether we even, you know, somebody must have talked about it, but I don't remember that at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
How did Junior Farmers change you as a person?
Well, I'm thinking, as I said, I went to that debating workshop at Albion Hills, and part of that was that we would actually there was a little saying that Junior Farmers had during, well, at least a lot of the, whether it was at the conference or whether it was at whether there was an act enthusiastic and you'll be enthusiastic, and that kind of stuck with me. And there's a lot of times when something wasn't maybe going the way you know you really thought it should have been going, but you know, if you stayed positive and you kept forging ahead with it, you know, to a certain extent. But you know, and so that little saying has really stuck with me over the years.
In your opinion, what is the importance of junior farmers in the province of Ontario?
Well, the provincial or even just your local club, a lot of the time it was a social club. You know, I'm sure I'm thinking, you know, whether it was 40 or 50 or 60 years ago, a lot of it was, there was a lot of more agricultural based in the province. There was judging competitions and you could go to a lot of them, but over the years that you know, kind of changed to more community-based objectives and more social objectives too. So and so those type of things, I think.
But the importance of junior farmers.
Yeah, and so I don't know. It's, you know, it just helped develop you as a person, and so those types. I don't know. It was important to be able to say that you're a member of Junior Farmers and that you were, you know, doing things. Yeah, it's kind of tough to really pick out something that was really important to me. You know, generally speaking, it was important. So.
Is there any specific stories you would like to share?
Specific stories? Oh boy. Let's see. Well, no, I just enjoyed the camaraderie when when we went to conferences or went to the field days, or we were doing activities, whether it was out someplace in somebody's backyard, or someplace painting the booth, getting it ready for the fair. Those little things that had to be done, and whether you're going to make arrangements for food for a dance, or buying tickets, or getting tickets printed, or programs printed, all those type of things. Just working together to there was a lot of members that had to do that, and so everybody tried to do their part. Some people were able to do more than others, but for the most part it all got done. Yeah.
What have you done since you left Junior Farmers?
Since I left Junior Farmers, well, as I say, when Sharon and I met in Junior Farmers, and that's where a lot of members were met and were married, and so since then I was president of the Acton Agricultural Society 20 years ago, so I've done that. I've been involved in scouting for 40 plus years now also, so those type of things, you kind of take a little bit of a leadership role here and there, and so I think it's, as I say, I think a lot of it stemmed from going to that debating workshop in Albion Hills, and gave you the confidence to be able to say yes to some things.
In the church, different groups there.
Yeah, I've been involved in the church quite a bit too, so yeah.
If you could say something to the Junior Farm members of today, what would you tell them?
What could I tell them? That well, as that little saying, the act enthusiastic and you'll be enthusiastic one, that's I think that's important. If you go through life with that little motto, carry it with you, that helps.
Is there anything else that we've missed that you'd like to add?
Oh, likely tomorrow there will be. But anyways, no, that's good. So hopefully going to help that somebody will be able to remember something and just say, oh yeah, I forgot all about that, or. But anyways, no, that's been good. Yeah.
Thank you, Judge.